Who is the biggest what if in NBA history? Is what many of you probably want the answer to by clicking on this video, and I'm here to tell you it's probably not who you think it is. Over the course of NBA history, the age-old adage of being a what if has loomed over the careers of the unfortunate, with many of those blessed with endless talent fizzling out before they are able to reach the summit of the National Basketball Association, whether it be due to their own doing or due to unfortunate circumstances far outside of their control. All these individuals have one thing in common, leaving us thinking back on their careers retrospectively, asking, what if? However, what if I told you that the biggest what if in NBA history was a 2 times Finals MVP, 2 times Defensive Player of the Year, and one of the greatest playoff performers of all time? Would you believe me? Whether you agree with me or think I'm delusional, you're going to want to hear the story of the biggest what if in NBA history.
It's off to Leonard, defended by Simmons. Is this the dagger?
I'm a gorilla in a fucking scoop. Finna pull up to the zoo, nigga. I don't even know where you sitting at.
Kawhi Leonard was born to play basketball, and I don't mean that figuratively. Plus, with a 7'3" wingspan at only 6'7", with some of the biggest hands ever seen in the league. When it comes to basketball, Kawhi Leonard is simply the top 1% of the top 1%, destined for greatness in a league where success doesn't come easy. Before Kawhi ever entered the NBA, he solidified his legacy as a legend of college basketball, where in 2 short years with the previously inexperienced San Diego State Aztecs, he cemented himself as the greatest player in the program's history, where in his second and final season he would average 15.5 points and 10.6 rebounds per game, and led the Aztecs to a 34-3 record. While it was clear Kawhi was a raw prospect out of college, with many concerns about his shooting and his ability to create, his incredible length, energy, and tenacity was enough for the Pacers to take a flyer on him with the 15th pick in the 2011 draft, where he was quickly dealt to San Antonio for George Hill. Kawhi would fit in at the Spurs immediately, where for the first 3 years of his career, he would transform into one of the best defenders in the league, with his offensive arsenal gradually expanding year by year. In 2013, Kawhi would get his first real taste of what the league had to offer, sweeping the Kobe-less Lakers, knocking out the young Warriors in a competitive series, and then sweeping the grit and grind Grizzlies en route to an epic finals matchup against prime LeBron James and the Miami Heat. In Game 1, the Spurs found themselves up 90-88 with only 10 seconds left. Tony Parker would then go on to hit one of the most iconic shots in NBA Finals history, sealing the game for the Spurs, where a 21-year-old Kawhi Leonard held what many consider to be the single greatest version of a player in NBA history to just 18 points, while LeBron made only 44% of his shots and 20% of his threes. While Kawhi would continue this defense into Game 2, holding LeBron to just 17 points and 42% shooting, the result would be vastly different, as the Heat tied up the series 1-1, winning 103-84. The pendulum would once again swing in Game 3, where the Spurs would tear apart the Miami Heat on their home floor, winning 113-77, as Danny Green would shoot 7 from 9 from 3, while Gary Neal would score 24 points in just 25 minutes. This would be largely overshadowed by Kawhi's immense defense on the 4-time league MVP, holding him to only 15 points on 21 shots, where LeBron would record a game-low -32 plus-minus. However, we're talking about a prime LeBron James here. Do you really think he would have 4 bad games in a row? In Game 4, LeBron and Dwayne Wade would come out and torch the Spurs, both recording 33 and 32 points respectively, as the Heat tied up the series 2-2 after a 109-93 win. Game 5 would birth an iconic moment.
Kawhi Leonard checks in the game as LeBron James is shooting a free throw.
That face?
He was not happy about that one.
Kawhi would hold LeBron to just 36% shooting from the floor, with the Spurs taking the victory 114-104 to take a 3-2 series lead, heading back to Miami for a highly anticipated Game 6. In Game 6, the Spurs would find themselves up 75-65 at 3/4 time, with only one man standing in their way.
With a victory tonight, Chalmers spine to James on the flush. Oh, real tough shot. Slammed in by LeBron. Bucket rejected by LeBron. James catches, fires a 3, way off. Rebound tipped, still loose, picked up by Miller. Back out to James, another 3. It's good. James knocks it down. James catches, puts up a 3. Won't go. Rebound Bosch.
Rebound fought for. Bosch has it. Off to the right corner. Allen.
Ray Allen has reached the corner. Back to Allen, the long shot.
seconds away from winning the championship, and we let it go. It hurts because it's one of those moments where you're going to be thinking about what we could have done better in the last few possessions so many times, all night long, all tomorrow.
This defining moment would act as a catalyst to fuel the Spurs for the following season, where many teams would falter and dwell, whereas Kawhi and co were on a mission to make up for their shortcomings. By the 2014 playoffs, the Spurs were ready for revenge, taking out a tough 8-seed Mavericks in 7 games, followed by a gentleman's sweep of the Trailblazers that led to a highly anticipated Western Conference Finals against the Oklahoma City Thunder, where in overtime of a Game 6 at Oklahoma, Kawhi made one of the greatest defensive plays in NBA history to seal a rematch with the Miami Heat.
Rejected by Ibaka. 3-on-2 for the Thunder. Westbrook. Oh, he's stripped by Leonard. What a play!
The final started off with controversy, with broken air conditioners causing temperatures to soar to over 90 degrees Fahrenheit within AT&T Center, causing LeBron James to begin cramping late in the fourth quarter, leading to a 16-3 run from San Antonio to end the game winning 110-95 and take a 1-0 series lead. In Game 2, LeBron James would well and truly bounce back, as he would lead the Heat with 35 points on only 22 shots, with the Heat winning 98-96. Game 3 of the NBA Finals was the first time we witnessed what a young Kawhi Leonard was truly capable of, as he put up 29 points on just 13 shots in another momentum swing as the Spurs won 111-92, taking a 2-1 series lead. Kawhi's form would continue into Game 4 as he stuffed the stat sheet, recording 20 points, 14 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals and 3 blocks, as the Spurs dominated the Heat for all 4 quarters in a performance that would leave the NBA world stunned. What came next was even more stunning.
From the crowd. Manu into the front court. He'll drive it inside. Manu all the way in. Left hand slam. Wow. Manu. That is why you do the voodoo that you do so well. And the Spurs on a 14-0 run.
James blocks Splitter. Here, Splitter gets his revenge.
No, but now he finds Diaw cutting inside. Morris to the right wing. Mills for 3. Good day, Mike. Patty Mills with a 3-pointer. Violence, Canada, and especially here in San Antonio.
The fans of San Antonio know how great you are, and now the whole world does. You are the 2014 Bill Russell MVP.
From this point in time, Kawhi only got better. By 2016, Kawhi had evolved into by far the best two-way player in the NBA, consistently locking up the opponent's best player at the point of attack, while also making plays as a help and team defender that would not be possible for 99% of the league. Most impressively, he did this all while dominating on offense. Throughout the season, Kawhi demonstrated his incredible shot creation ability paired with an unimaginable precision alongside his almost unstoppable ability to drive and score in the paint, as the duo of Leonard and LaMarcus Aldridge led the Spurs to a 61-21 record in the second seed in the West, behind only the recently formed super team Golden State Warriors. In round 1, the Spurs found themselves in a tough spot, as the 2-7 matchup forced them to face a ferocious Grizzlies team that featured some of the sport's toughest players. It took Kawhi's best efforts to push the Spurs over the edge in a 6-game series that saw Kawhi average cartoonish numbers against the 7th best defense in the NBA that year, recording 31 points, 6 boards and 4 assists per game on 55, 48, 97 splits. In round 2, the Spurs faced the MVP runner-up in James Harden and the Houston Rockets. Both teams traded blowouts for the first 4 games until a pivotal Game 5 with the series tied up at 2 apiece. A game in which Kawhi was forced to sit out overtime due to an ankle injury, saw the game saved by a 39-year-old Manu Ginobili.
It was the 39-year-old veteran
protecting the house. Ginobili with the 12 points.
In Game 6, the Spurs would blow out the Rockets 114-75 without Kawhi Leonard in an all-time meltdown by the Rockets and a performance that earned James Harden his playoff choker reputation. In the Western Conference Finals, Kawhi and the Spurs would come up against the greatest basketball team assembled in the history of the sport. However, throughout the regular season, the Spurs carried a 2-1 record against the runaway championship favourites. In Game 1, San Antonio's fortitude was evident, as with 7 minutes and 43 seconds left in the third quarter, the Spurs were up 23 points, as the matchup was shaping up to be one of the all-time great playoff series, until disaster struck.
Again, that's what they call all the time when you get your feet into the landing space of the shooter.
This would mark the start of Kawhi's injury woes, as the re-aggravation of his ankle would cause him to miss the rest of the playoffs, as the Warriors regrouped in Game 1 to win 113-111, and would go on to sweep the Spurs en route to an NBA championship. This moment served as a turning point in the trajectory of the young superstar's career, as it marked the beginning of one of the worst runs of injuries in the history of sports. Before the 2017-18 season, the Spurs announced Kawhi was suffering with right thigh tendinopathy, signifying the beginning of his degenerative knee issues, and after making his season debut on December 11th on a minute restriction, by January 17th, Spurs announced Kawhi would be out indefinitely to continue to rehab his right quad. By July 18th, the news broke within NBA circles that Kawhi Leonard and Danny Green had been traded for DeMar DeRozan, Jakob Poeltl and a first-round pick. While reports initially claimed Leonard had no interest in playing for Toronto, they had no idea what would be coming over the next 12 months, as the Kawhi Leonard era in Toronto was just beginning. It took no time for Kawhi to make an impact with the Raptors, as he flawlessly fit into their already established system. By the time the playoffs came around, it was clear the Raptors were trying to prove a point, holding the second best record in the East, with a first-round matchup against Orlando awaiting Toronto. After dropping the first game, Kawhi would finish the series with 34, 37 and 27-point performances to win the series 4-1 and take the Raptors to a round 2 series against the processed Philadelphia 76ers. With both teams absolutely stacked to the brim with talent, it was clear from the commencement of Game 1 that this series would be incredible. The series would start with a stunning 45-point performance from Kawhi, going 16 from 23 from the field to take the game 105-98. The 76ers would respond with 2 back-to-back wins, before 39 points, 14 rebounds and 5 assists on 13 from 20 shooting would even up the series going back to Toronto, where the Raptors would blow the Sixers out 125-89 to go up 3-2 with notable performances from Kawhi, Pascal Siakam and Kyle Lowry. 29 points, 12 rebounds and 5 assists from Kawhi in Game 6 would not be enough to overcome the star power of Philly, sending the series back to Toronto once again for a Game 7 that would go down in history. In a game where both teams should shoot 38 and 43% from the field respectively, one shot would decide the fate of the series.
It's off to Leonard, defended by Simmons. Is this the dagger? Game! Series! Toronto has won!
This iconic shot would set the stage for an Eastern Conference Finals matchup between Toronto and the Milwaukee Bucks. 31 from Kawhi in Games 1 and 2 would prove not to be enough, as the Raptors would fall into a 2-0 hole. With the media now doubting the Raptors, Kawhi was left with 2 options: either give up or give it everything. In order for the Raptors to win, adjustments would have to be made.
We were down 2-0 against Milwaukee. You know, Nick Nurse came into the locker room and said, you know, we're going to make some adjustments. We'll get back to Toronto and we're going to be ready. And Kawhi said the adjustment is I'm guarding Giannis. We walked out the locker room.
This change would prove to work well, as a double OT thriller would end in a Raptors 118-112 win, with Kawhi pouring in 36 points while holding Giannis to 5 of 16 shooting and 8 turnovers. This watershed moment within the series saw a complete change in momentum, as the Raptors would win out the series on the way to a shot at championship gold against the 2-time defending champion Golden State Warriors. Despite 34 points from Steph Curry in Game 1, an incredible 14 from 17 performance from Pascal Siakam would lead Toronto to a 118-109 victory and a 1-0 series lead. In Game 2, 34 points, 14 rebounds and 3 assists from Kawhi would fail to be enough, as the Raptors conceded the second game to a well-rounded assault from the entire Warriors squad. Game 3 would see Kawhi Leonard's 30 points lead the Raptors to a 123-109 victory, while Steph Curry scored 47 in the loss. 36, 12 and 4 from Kawhi put the Raptors up 3-1 going back to Toronto, but the series would be very different with the revitalized Kevin Durant coming back from a calf strain. In Game 5, the Warriors' decision to bring back KD would prove to be costly, as after just 11 minutes and 57 seconds, he would tear his Achilles, putting him out of action for the next 2 years. However, the Warriors led by Curry and Klay Thompson would take the Game 5 win 106-105. In Game 6, Klay Thompson put up 30 points on just 12 shots, until a Danny Green contest ended his season, tearing his ACL as the Raptors would win 114-110, as Kawhi took home his second championship and Finals MVP at just 27 years old, truly establishing himself as one of the greatest players in the association. Following one of the greatest playoff runs of all time, Kawhi entered free agency as the hottest commodity on the market, narrowing down his choices to 3 teams: the Raptors, Lakers, and Clippers, with many expecting him to join LeBron James and Anthony Davis on the Lakers. However, late at night on July 6th, it was announced that Kawhi had joined the LA Clippers alongside star Paul George, in a move that saw the Clippers instantly become title contenders. Ultimately, a 2019-20 season that would begin with sky-high expectations and be filled with load management would end in a spectacular failure, as a choked 3-1 lead to the Denver Nuggets would once again prevent us from witnessing the Battle of LA in the playoffs. However, this would only fuel the Clippers, as in the 2020-21 season the team would make history. After finishing as the 4th seed, the Clippers would find themselves in a dire situation, as after going down 2-0 on their home floor against the Dallas Mavericks, the Clippers once again found themselves down 19 points in the first quarter of Game 3, with only one thing standing in the Mavericks' way. Game 3 would end with Kawhi scoring 36 points on a ridiculous 13 of 17 shooting. Kawhi would follow up this performance with 29 points on 11 of 15 shooting, as the Clippers tied up the series 2 games apiece. After losing 105-100 in Game 5, Game 6 Kawhi would put in one of the greatest performances in NBA playoff history.
Though the last 2 possessions, they've got good looks at the 3. Leonard crossover twice, pull-up jumper, puts it in. Leonard, pull-up jumper, it's good. 5 to shoot, Leonard, step back 3, bang! Kawhi Leonard from downtown. There's the double. Batum, back to Leonard, shot clock at 6. Leonard, step back 3, puts it in, he does it again!
An epic Game 7 duel between Kawhi and Luka Doncic would end in the Clippers' victory, as they earned a matchup against the 1st seed Utah Jazz in round 2. Where once again, the Clippers would find themselves down 2-0, with 34, 12, and 5 followed up by 31 from Kawhi Leonard evened up the series at 2-2. However, disaster struck once again with just 4 minutes left of Game 4. A bomb from Joe Ingles left Kawhi hobbled, and while he attempted to shake it off, it would later be revealed that the worst case scenario had occurred. Kawhi had torn his ACL and would be out for the rest of the playoffs. With this injury, he missed all of the 2021-22 season, leaving NBA fans with another year of asking ourselves, what if Kawhi Leonard was healthy? During the 2022-23 season, Kawhi struggled with knee and ankle issues, finally rounding into form in the latter parts of the season. However, after a Paul George knee injury, Kawhi was left to fend for himself. After finishing with the 5th seed, the Clippers would face the Phoenix Suns in round 1. With morale low within the Clipper fanbase, an incredible 38-point performance from Kawhi would renew hope, as they took a 1-0 lead. Unfortunately, this happiness would be short-lived, as while Kawhi tried to play through injury during Game 2, it was later revealed that he had torn his meniscus and would once again be out for the rest of the playoffs, ending another season in disappointment. The 2023-24 season would present a new-look Clippers, as after starting 3-7, the Big Four of Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, James Harden, and Russell Westbrook would end up 35-14, claiming the 1st seed in the Western Conference, with Kawhi not requiring any load management. It truly looked like the Clippers had figured it all out, or at least until a game late in this season against the Charlotte Hornets, when knee inflammation began to trouble Kawhi, causing him to miss the end of the regular season before returning in Game 2 of the playoffs versus the Dallas Mavericks, where he clearly looked hobbled, leading to the Clippers to once again end his season, making it 4 years in a row where fans had been robbed of a healthy Kawhi Leonard in the playoffs. While media questioned the seriousness of his issues, it was later confirmed as he was forced to withdraw from the 2024 USA Olympic basketball roster. Which brings us to the current day, where Kawhi missed the first 3 months of the season due to knee inflammation, where only lately he seems to be kicking into gear. For a player who was so accomplished at just the age of 27, many people dismiss his case of being a what if. But I truly believe that his achievements at this young age is what cements his place as the biggest what if in NBA history and makes his career so intriguing. So, do you think this year will be different for Kawhi and the Clippers, or will we once again be asking ourselves, what if Kawhi Leonard was healthy?